is Laura Perry, so let me introduce you to her. Laura is a dedicated mother, small business owner, public servant, a coach with a proven track record of leadership and results, a former healthcare executive and current owner of multiple businesses in Southeast Michigan. Laura brings deep experience in strategic growth, job creation, and government contracting. She holds a triple major and an MBA and actively serves her community as chair of the Dundee DDA, commissioner of the Monroe DDA, and a varsity soccer coach. A strong conservative, Laura is running for state representative in District 31 to fight for lower taxes, smaller government, stronger schools, and for Michigan families. Please give Laura a warm welcome for joining our tea party today.
Thank you, Teresa. Yes, and thank you guys so much for having me today. My name is Laura Perry. I am your proud Republican candidate running for the Michigan House of Representatives in District 31. And that election is actually going to be next year in 2026, but it is a very important seat to the state of Michigan, just as all seats are in the House, the Senate, and of course we've got some big ones coming up in our midterms, which is our governor's seat and our Secretary of State. As we see candidates that are starting to come out. But I have already launched my campaign, and it's a very united campaign. As Hillsdale knows, there are a lot of fractured parties. My district covers 4 counties: Lenawee, Wayne, Washtenaw, and Monroe County, and I can tell you that several of those have fractured counties, and I have members of both sides sitting in my room. People that would not get in the same room together are going to be there. It is probably one of the most united campaigns that has launched in Michigan, and I'm very proud of that, and I think that is a testament to how I can get people into the room and get things done. So let me tell you a little bit about this seat, and then I want to tell you about myself and then how we can make a movement to get Republican candidates into Michigan seats. The seat was a part of the redistricting. I told you it has 4 counties, so it means I have to go to 4 different county parties to seek support. That's 12 townships, so I'm hitting 12 township meetings throughout the months. I'm rotating through my go-to to get to meet my neighbors, get to meet those supervisors. But the candidate that ran last year, Dale Banicki, he is taking a step back, and that's when I said I need to step up. I need to step up for my community. I need to go after this. It was lost by 600 votes. That's it. 600 votes. So I am going around to neighboring communities like Hillsdale, where it's very, very red, and trying to seek support from women and from the parties to see, as we get closer to the election, if we can inject conservatives on the ground, whether it's phone banking, coming out for a weekend of door knocking, to help get these seats, these very flippable seats, over the line. Yes. Thank you. And this seat is doable. It very much is doable, but it's going to require a longer cycle, which is going to require more time to hit all of these meetings, to get the support from all the different townships, and then to recruit an army to flip this seat so that we can start putting more red seats up in Lansing. I want to tell you a little bit about myself, and what I love here today is seeing all of the mothers and daughters. I would have loved to bring my daughter, but she's turning 1 next week. So she's not always cooperating when it comes to sitting down at a table, and sometimes needs mom. So I left her at home today, but I have 4 other children. My oldest is my stepchild, Braden. He's 18 years old. Braden graduated last year, and he's now working in one of my businesses. I, 4 years ago, purchased a small business in Monroe County. It was a sporting goods and custom apparel shop, and I've expanded that now into 3 locations. And my son, after graduation, decided that college wasn't really going to be the route for him, but he's got that entrepreneurial spirit, and he's now managing one of my shops, and I couldn't be prouder of that, in teaching him, how to run a business. So he's got open and closing responsibilities. My second oldest is 15 years old. His name is Carter, and he's a freshman right now. Carter has a genetic eye disease called retinoschisis, so technically he's legally blind. But you would not tell by him operating around during the day. We just found out from the University of Michigan, we took him up for special testing. He is going to be able to drive with a bioptic lens. But I'm very passionate about making sure that kids with disabilities get the proper resources that they need in our schools and within our communities. So it's very important to me. I know that there's a lot of misinformation being put out about the cutting with the Department of Education. And sitting in the seat in Lansing, I would make sure that we have the state funds to be able to take over those type of programs so that kids that have disabilities are taken care of, and it's something that personally affects my home. My son that me and my husband have together is 3 years old. He turned 3 last week, so he's just full of personality and energy, and then little Ella is 1. But I started my career, and is mentioned in my bio, at Upper Iowa University, where I went to school on a soccer scholarship. And I achieved 3 majors in 3 years: finance, business administration, and sociology. But what I really loved during my undergraduate career was I worked for a small hospital as an intern in my hometown of Monroe County. And I got to build out their physician recruitment program from scratch. So it was a external program where they were spending tons of money paying headhunters, and I went in there and I created a program using free nonprofit tools for them to internalize the recruitment program, and I left a fully functional piece of infrastructure that they still now work with today. I absolutely love going into a setting and creating something from scratch, or taking something that is inefficient and making it more efficient. After I graduated from undergrad, I went to grad school at the University of Toledo, where I pursued my MBA. And during my time there, I worked for the state of Ohio, the city of Toledo, and I built from scratch their wage garnishment program. They had local taxes that they were collecting. They took people out for judgments, but they had no way of collecting any of these local taxes. They were trying to get kids from the law school to come in and get it done, and I said, I can do that. So I worked with our senior tax attorney. We built the program. We followed the rules as far as how you can go about collecting that, and within the first year we collected $1 million, and they started to balance their budget. Wow. So when it comes to government red tape and processes and procedures, I am very well versed in that. After graduate school, I went on to be recruited by a firm out in San Diego, California. Alice and I have some California roots together. And I worked for a healthcare staffing firm, and they were a small local per diem firm. We expanded them nationally. So have you guys ever heard of travel nursing, where you go on contract for anywhere from 13 to 26 weeks? I did that in therapy, so PT, OT, speech. I built a radiation oncology department with them, a radiology department, and my division that I built for them that I'm most proud of was getting us on schedule with the GSA, and we built out a government division where we staffed for VA hospitals, correctional facilities, military bases, Indian reservations, and state hospitals where they still existed. So when you talk about, again, that bureaucracy and working with the government, working with government contracts, I'm very familiar with that, and I love going in there and seeing ways that we can make things more efficient and leave programs behind that are very operational. And that's what I'm seeing here in Michigan. I was out in California. I was trying to make the decision as to where I wanted to find a husband because I was working so much, and where I wanted to live. And I was going back and forth from Michigan and California while I was building their school program, a school division for this company, which was staffing in the schools. And I met my husband at the gym. That cute boy story, right? That cute boy. And I said, I am not going to be raising a family out here in California. There's just too much going on. I wanted to move back to Michigan. This is where I knew I wanted to be. And I dated my husband for a year. We got engaged. We bought some property out in Michigan, and we had we got married during COVID. So we got married on that property because no place would allow us to get married inside. And we had our first kid. But I knew that Michigan is where I wanted to be, and that's when I bought that 75-year-old business that we now expanded. Working as an entrepreneur in Michigan, there's a lot of red tape that we come up against. I've seen over the last 4 or 5 years our energy costs have gone through the roof. The red tape when it comes to any type of permitting or expanding is very cumbersome. I've seen a lot of changes in our education system, and that is what frightens me the most. The business stuff I think that we can work through, but what concerns me the most is what's happening with our education. We are sitting at the bottom of the ranks for infrastructure, for education, for people coming into the state. And I think that we have a huge opportunity to change that. And I think it takes women that have strong voices to speak up for ourselves and for our families, and most importantly for our children, to make the change that we need to make. I am a member of the Monroe County Republican Party. I sit as the finance chair, also the chair of the Dundee DDA, and sit on the Monroe City DDA. And during our last election cycle, our community college put out signs that said, on the outside of the bathrooms, that said you can enter the bathroom with whatever gender identity you choose, whatever aligns with your gender identity. And a member of our party made signs that they put out in the community that says our community college allows men in women's restrooms. And we had local officials that were running for re-election that came to me and they said, we need to take those signs down. You know, it's going to cause division in our community. And I said, it's true. Said people are welcome to keep those signs up, and we're not going to encourage people to take them down, because that's true. And we can have grown men that are coming into our community college bathrooms, an open campus at any time. And we're encouraging that type of behavior. And our community college recruits from our high schools. So 1/4 of the community college is actually dual enrolled students, so they are minors. And I said, no, we are not taking those signs down. They need to be aware of this. And they also had a millage on the ballot. And those signs and that type of awareness, we weren't being rude, we weren't being disrespectful, we were bringing awareness in our community as to what was going on, and that millage did not pass. So when that millage didn't pass, that opened up doors for us to have conversations with members of the board and with the president. And those signs have now come down. But the reason that those signs went up in the first place was because of the enactment of the Elliott Larson Civil Rights Act, and allowed them to put up those signs. So that's something that I'm very passionate about changing as I get up into Lansing. We have to protect the rights of all people, but especially our children and our young girls. I am a varsity soccer coach. I will not stand for men playing in women's sports. Now the conversation after those signs came down at the community college, which is great because it doesn't open our restrooms to anybody. We're now in conversations with members of the board about looking at the other issues that are occurring within our public education, which are our syllabuses, and scrubbing those syllabuses to make sure that they are teaching critical thinking and not left-wing ideologies. So while the bathroom signs came down, we still have a large problem with left-wing ideologies and teachers teaching their political views as opposed to the subjects that they have going on. So now we're having conversations as to how we can bring some of those detractors to the surface, have conversations with them about making sure that we have proper education that's promoting critical thinking, and that parents are able to transparently see what's going on and bring awareness to that as they're letting their kids jump into this school. But my point is that it takes somebody that has got the ability to bring a bold, principled leadership out into the open, and to not be afraid to get into the room with somebody that's got a different opinion than them and have a conversation and stand up tall and stand up firm for our next generation. And our next generation Let me tell you, they're conservative. I don't know if you guys know this, but the next generation coming up is conservative. Their Bible sales are through the roof. And I'm very proud of that. But they're going to follow our lead. So when we're seeing something that's a little bit controversial, like what was happening at this community college, we can either, step back and say, I don't want to be labeled as a racist or being homophobic or transphobic, which I'm not. But standing firm and saying, that's not right for these children. We need to stand up for what's right and then say, let's come to the table and have a conversation. And what can we do to protect all of God's children? And I feel very passionately about that, and I'm not afraid to be the person that's going to stand up and bring that bold leadership to Lansing. I'm going to unite people by bringing both sides of the aisle together, both sides of our party together. And why I'm here today is to really seek support from those in Hillsdale. I love coming to Hillsdale because it is such a red county. I love having conversations with like-minded people that have really great family values and Christian values. It's very important to me. But when it comes time for our midterm next year, it's going to take an army of bold, principled leaders to get it done. So if you have any interest in getting involved in an area where your efforts are going to make a difference, I would love to talk to you. And it can be anything. If you want to come down to, I could say Monroe County, but Monroe, Lenawee, Washtenaw Wayne, if you want to come down to any one of those counties, even for one day and knock doors, I would love to have you. If you want to make 100 phone calls, I'd love to have you. If calling or volunteering is not your strong suit and you'd like to give financially, we are running an extra long campaign cycle. We would gladly take any donations to be able to make sure that we are hitting voters where they are at. And then I would love to extend an invitation to you guys to the campaign kickoff that we're having on May 31st at the Old Mill in Dundee. This is where you're going to see everybody in the room. I've got several members that are already joining us. Thank you, Teresa, for getting this in front of everybody. But we have Senator John Lindsay, who's going to come down and emcee this event, as well as Senator Bellino, who holds a portion of Hillsdale, and they're going to be helping and advocating for the campaign as we try to move to flip this seat in 2026. So very important, whether it's my campaign or anybody locally that you have, that we're continuing to push strong conservative candidates forward. And just remember, for all of my ladies here in the room, that your voice really matters. It really matters, and just there's a line in the sand, this imaginary line in the sand, and you can stand behind it and not say anything, or you can have the courage to step over that line and use your voice to do good. And you can do it in a way that's respectful. And that's by having conversations and bringing people to the table and making that change. So I hope I can just at least leave our young girls with that.